found out too. What are you doing about your business? Do you want more clients? Do you want more people to know about the services that you do provide? Do you have a luncheon coming? What about your premieres? Call MBC. Advertise your birthdays, weddings, anniversaries, church program, or request our coverage at your function. MBC, at your service 24/7. Call 832-887-6452 or call 281-888-9502. MBC, your favorite station, sharing African views.
People assume quality car insurance has to cost more. People assume too much. The truth is, drivers who switched to Allstate last year saved money and got better protection. So get the facts, because you know what they say about people who assume. They pay more for car insurance than you and me.
Call Kayode Ajanaku, 9903 State Highway 6 South, Suite 600, Sugarland, Texas 77498. Telephone 713-776-3275.
Welcome to Wazobia Market. Good morning. Good morning again to the good people of Houston. Again, my name is Patrick Omosagi. I'm filling in for Jumoke, your regular hostess. She's away on assignment. I'll call it academic assignment. This is a very, very wonderful day. The weather again is so just fantastic. We should be in the 80s. I mean, and that's great weather for this time of the year. I mean, other parts, especially of the eastern part of the United States, is already at freezing point. So again, good morning, Houston. We have a great day. I had a fulfilling week, and I hope you all did the same. But let us start this morning, unfortunately, with some very, very, very sad news. I mean, as a country and as a people, we lost two very young ladies who are medical doctors, one here in the United States and one in Lagos. Let me start with the story of the one in Lagos. That's a little bit more confusing. She's a consultant pediatric surgeon, Dr. Hestiana Thomas, was brought in really battered and bruised and with a fractured skull. And it later confirmed she later died at the hospital. Unfortunately, there are speculations that this is about domestic violence, because apparently there's been incidences of domestic violence with her husband, who is also a consultant physician at the Lagos University Teaching Hospital. It's a very, very sad story for this young lady. to lose her life in a way that, still very suspicious. We really pray for her family and let them be able to deal with this. This is a topic that I think we need to kind of talk to. I mean, you can call me at 713-340-7514. That is our studio line, because I'd like us to talk about this. I mean, I would really like us to talk about this, because this is almost becoming a very common thing. I mean, in the last several years in Nigeria, we've had quite a number of young women lose their lives in situations that is about domestic violence. The second unfortunate story of a loss of a Nigerian is that of Mrs. Caroline Ekong, who's also a doctor. She's a psychiatrist. She was murdered in her home in Delaware. After the murder, the young man who did it, a 21-year-old former patient, she hasn't seen this patient, I mean, the story is that she hasn't seen this patient in 3 or 4 years. He's 21 years old, found her in her house and murdered her, and then called the cops to report himself. He calls it was an obsession. He was obsessed with her. She's a 55-year-old mother. It was her daughter who found her at 4 a.m. She had been stabbed to death. Really, really sad story. I mean, I first came across the story early in the morning when it happened, because I had friends that grew up with her. I think she grew up in the University of Ibadan as a kid. Went to international school in Ibadan, and then I don't know where she read her medical, but possibly very likely at UCH in Ibadan. So she's someone that, comes from almost the same, just the way most of us are here, coming out of our system and coming to America, and she was killed by someone that they suspect was a former patient of about 4 or 5 years ago. Really sad story. So again, this is a topic we'd like to talk on. If you can call us at 713-340-7514. That's our studio line. You can also go on our Facebook page and make comments on some of these issues that we're going to talk about today. But let's move on. This past week in Nigeria was really what you call the greatest political spectacles we've had in a long time. And that was the screening of ministerial candidates for the position of ministers into the various ministries in the country. Finally, after 4 months, the president had obviously submitted a list, and this was the week that I think 18 of them 18 ministers have now been confirmed. We don't know their portfolio, but again, through some of the discussions or questions that happened on the floor of the Senate, we suspect and what ministries they were going. I'll talk about 3 that were very unique. I mean, that is the discussions they had with them. One was the former governor of Lagos State, Fashola, and also the former governor of Ekiti State, Fayemi, and then the public relations manager for the last campaign for Buhari, Mr. Lai Mohammed. He was from Kwara. These 3, I mean, had some really good interaction with the senators. Everybody is talking about Fashola's brilliance and his, how articulate and how upright he was in trying to answer all their questions. I mean, one of the famous quotes from him is that I never signed a check in my 8 years as governor, that he doesn't sign checks. So, I mean, that has been a trending statement of his in the last few days since he made that. But again, Fashola was very well, he represented himself very well, he represented the state he comes from very well, and we don't know what ministry he's going to go, but there's a lot of speculations that he will be the minister of the Federal Capital Territory. I personally think that is probably a very good place to be for him. He really did do very well in Lagos, and I think Abuja needs someone like him. I mean, anybody that has gone to Abuja of late would realize that if we don't get that place organized very quickly, we would lose it as a very, very well constructed city. The same thing with Fayemi. Everybody talks about how articulate he was and how he presented himself. Again, the speculation is that he is going to be in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Yes, his background tells us a lot about his capabilities out there, and the questioning and answers from him was also very pointed at that he might be in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. For Lai Mohammed, that was really more of a comedy session. I mean, the senators played around with him, and he also played along with them. He didn't get, I think he got maybe just one really reasonable question, and all the other things were just a joke. But then again, he's been confirmed. The 18 ministers have been confirmed. Amechi, the governor of Rivers State, it was postponed, and I think that will resume on Tuesday. There are obviously still some other ministers or ministerial candidates to be confirmed by the Senate. So what we're going to do, as I expect calls to come in, because I really want us to talk about the death of this young doctor in Louth and the death of another doctor that was murdered in Delaware. So again, the numbers on the screen, it's 713-340-7514. So we'll take a break, and we'll be back in a very short while to continue this discussion. Welcome back, Houston. It's been really, like I said, a very fascinating week in the politics of Nigeria. The ministerial screenings went on, and one of the most talked about incidents during that screening was the questioning and the back and forth between the former governor of Lagos State, Raji Fashola, and the senators. So we're going to take a clip just to show you what it looked like between Fashola and the senators. So we'll take that clip right now. We'll come back and we'll have some discussions on it.
About the question of detainees, I think that there is unfortunately a misunderstanding of the issues at the time, and also there was a political atmosphere that made it difficult for rational appreciation of what the facts were. We didn't just collect destitutes. I think it is also important to say for public information that we were taken to court, and if I recollect correctly, the court found no merit in the claim. And the basis for making that determination was that these were people, all sorts of people from across Nigeria who come, sleep on the streets. Some have psychiatric problems, some are sick, some are dying. We take them into a home. We look after them. We treat. We rehabilitate. And then some of the pressures we begin to have, I want to go home. Where is home? The only information we have about where home is what he tells us. We stood the risk of also being accused of illegal detention. And in all those instances, we corresponded with the states that those people claimed that they were from. I think Senator Akpabio, as governor, has also written to me, sending people from his state to me. I didn't make a hue and cry about it. We verified those who were indigenous to Lagos, and we told him that these are not indigenous to Lagos. And in a federation, sir, the right to free movement is not an absolute right. It also carries with it the responsibility not to be a nuisance. And we owed that obligation first to rehabilitate, and so on and so forth. And as I said at the time, for those who felt truly offended, I made a public apology. But it was not a matter of just going to pick people. The state who they claimed wrote back didn't get to us. There was proof that we sent letters to them. And I would hope that we would let the matter go. I apologize again in the interest of national cohesion, that we must not expand those fault lines. We must be brothers and sisters. Distinguished Senator Sekibo, welcome back to Lagos, sir. And, but there's no magic about IGR, and I think for the safety of time, I think I have indicated some of the issues there. Everybody must pay their fair share so that they can have their this thing. As far as petroleum products and filling stations are concerned, again, it's a business that perhaps I have no skills about, so it's not easy to say this is why that happens. But we need to diversify, and how we distribute our petroleum. We need to secure permissions. We also need to help vulnerable people live a useful life.
Houston, welcome back. That was an interesting 6-7 minutes of watching the former governor of Lagos State, Fashola, respond to some very pertinent questions about what he would do. I mean, we don't know his ministry, but, you know, I mean, the senator from Adamawa, Senator Binta, was asked 3 questions that she said were in the manifesto of the APC on creating or building 2 million houses for Nigerians, providing 3 million jobs, and giving a stipend of about 5,000 to the poor, to the poorest of the poor. And you just watched former Governor Fashola respond to that. That the building, he really boiled it down to government spending money to build roads, to build houses, will create the jobs. And look, there's no doubt that Fashola was really a decent governor. I mean, a lot of people have actually said he's been the best administrator that we have seen in Nigeria. I mean, unfortunately, there's a whole load of cry from the people of Lagos today that a lot of the things he did, or a lot of the good things that were running smoothly, have all gone back. I mean, everybody is crying about the traffic in Lagos. Everybody is crying actually even more about the slow process of getting things done in Lagos today. So I mean, Governor Ambody has a really big shoes to fill, and right now he's just not carrying his weight very well. At least that is what the people of Lagos are saying. So we've had this week screening some of these ministers. We hope, I mean, and I think this will continue from Tuesday, and then I'm sure by the end of the week we'll know what ministries these guys are going to head. Again, we would love you to go to our Facebook page and like us. You could actually make comments too, but really would really like for us today, this morning, give us a call at 713-340-7514. Let us discuss the issue of domestic violence. I mean, it's very important that at this stage of our lives, or as a country, that this is it's a very sensitive topic, but it's something that we need to discuss, because once we start losing people, all in the name of obedience in marriage and all that, I think we're having a problem, and a very serious problem, because I mean, very funny. It is really, now this is where the problem we're having is actually, these are very young couples. Most of them are still very much under 40, at least the ones that we have followed in the last couple of years. I mean, they're under 40. So we'll take another quick break. When we come back, I expect us to be on the phone calling into this program, and let's have the discussion. We have 2 really big discussions: ministerial screening in Lagos, in Abuja, and then the issue of losing a young doctor in Louth to supposedly domestic violence. So we'll be right back after this very short break.
People assume quality car insurance has to cost more. People assume too much. The truth is, drivers who switched to Allstate last year saved money and got better protection. So get the facts, because you know what they say about people who assume. They pay more for car insurance than you and me.
Call Kayode Ajanaku, 9903 State Highway 6 South, Suite 600, Sugarland, Texas 77498. Telephone 713-776-3275.
Welcome to Wazobia Market.
Welcome back, Houston. Just part of what should be headlines for most of us right now. We have about 3 weeks before the mayoral elections in Houston here, which will be November the 3rd. We've already had 2 of the contestants come in, Mr. Bell and Mr. Costello. We're expecting a couple more to come in and talk to us or talk to the people of Houston or to a Nigerian community or the African community of Houston. So let's not forget, the election is November the 3rd. It's the first Tuesday as usual, which is the days that the United States hosts does its election. So we're hoping that we'll get in a few more of the 6 candidates. We've done 2 of them. We're expecting to do maybe 2 or 3 more before the election. So let's not forget, next week Saturday and the following Saturday, expect one of the candidates or 2 candidates to come in to talk to us. So right now we'll take some more headlines and then we'll come back very, very shortly to wrap up. Since we're not getting, we'll come back very shortly to wrap up. Welcome back, Houston. The headlines that we just looked at, there were a couple of things that struck me and which we'll just touch on a little bit. Boko Haram is still causing a lot of destruction and death in Nigeria. And this week, the president also had an interview with a very popular American TV station, even though they're out of Qatar, Al Jazeera. And there was a kind of what I would consider a cheeky question that was asked to ask the president, that would he resign in December if he hasn't conquered or eliminated the Boko Haram sect? And the president, of course, said, I mean, I'm not going to resign. I would stay on until my term is obviously finished and I have decimated Boko Haram. But I thought that was a really cheeky question, even though I know that the president had said on assumption that he would clean this group out within 3 months. But look, anytime there's a war, it's not a football match, it's not 90 minutes, you don't know how long these things would take. So he answered, I think he gave a perfect answer that no, I'm not going to resign. If we don't get it done by December, we'll get it done at some time. And that should really be the goal. And then, you know, I consider this also, I don't know whether to call it a slap in the face, but I mean, the U.S. is sending 300 troops to the Cameroons to fight Boko Haram. I mean, we don't hear a lot of destruction and death in the Cameroons. I mean, we know that they do have some harbor in Cameroons, but you know, why sending them to Cameroons? We need the direct help, but obviously we're not getting it. And then the last headline that really struck me was that Oscar Pistorius, that was sentenced last year for killing his girlfriend, is now going to be released, and he is going to be on house arrest for the remainder part of his sentence. And that's really an interesting development. I mean, we always say the legal system is really your best friend at times. I mean, everybody really thinks he's gotten away with murder. I mean, and now he's going to be released to go back and live in his own house. That's interesting. So really, this has been really not what we'll consider a full week. We expected to have 1 or 2 guests, who haven't been able to show up today. But nevertheless, we've given you a lot of things to consider. And talk about, even though we were expecting people to call in for discussions and all that, but we haven't been able to do that. But we'll see you here bright and early, and I can guarantee you we're going to have a lot of interesting guests in the next couple of weeks, because we have an election coming up. We have our own as a society. I mean, we all start looking, once we get in close to November, we start looking at really just not the holiday period, but into the new year. And there are a lot of exciting things happening within our community, both here and at home. So we'll see you back bright and early at 10 o'clock next week. Go to our Facebook page, like us, go to our YouTube and watch the program, past programs and all that. So really go out there, have a great Saturday, have a great Sunday, and have a good, fulfilling week ahead. So we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Good morning, everybody. How are you doing? All right. Today is a day where we talk about sustainable development goal. And we should talk about sustainable development goal every day, every second, every moment, until we put an end to poverty, until we put our children to school, our young girls to school, and empower boys, men and women all around the world, especially in my continent. We need to do this, and together I think we can achieve a world that is better for the future generation, because that's the only solution to preserve the earth and to preserve the economic system that we have. So today, I'm going to ask you, I know that is a big ask, but let's celebrate African way, the success to come, the success of a better world for the next generation that we are here for today. So, when I ask you to sing, you go along with me. Thank you. Baby fond Africa gwelo me wena fond bo mo de kweton ide social me wede me de manali da kremito ye fond bodo nyanya Africa, maybe say no way. You know me, Benya, Tonido. Ashe, mama, Africa. Ashe, mama, Africa. Sing along, please. Ashe, mama, Africa. Ashe, mama, Africa. Me let him put you, Johnny. But man, they left on the new wow, you don't know the way, little. Yamado nunde wawe nino Yefmo bodo nyanya torawe Africa maybe say no way Ninu mi be nyanya tonido Ashe mama Africa Mama Africa, come on Mama Africa Don't be shy Mama Africa